Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to welcome Nadiem von Heydebrand, CEO and co-founder of Mindfuel Fuel. Nadiem, welcome.
Hey, Ben, great to see you. Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here. Excited about this. So let's kick things off. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, happy to do so. So my name is Nadim. I'm born and raised in Germany. So in the south of Germany in Munich, close to the Alps. And this is also where I studied. I studied business information systems and computer science. So my background is an engineer. And before I founded Mindfuel, which is our SaaS company, I worked as a data scientist, hands-on in the industry. I was working in a consultancy. So I had the great chance to see a lot of different projects in my career, a lot of different customers, a lot of different industries. And I grew my career in this consultancy from an engineer to team lead to an account manager. So I did the classical ladder, if you want. So it took me all the way to a kind of a partner level where I was responsible then for a bunch of people delivering data and AI projects for major customers, major clients. And yeah, I think in this time span of 8 years, I've been on more than 300 projects and I've seen it all if you want. So when it comes to data science, AI, machine learning, what companies want to do with the technology and all that stuff. Yeah, and there was one big question in all these projects. The question was, what is the return on investment? How can we measure that? Why is it so expensive? So major board members, CIOs, BDOs always raise the same question. Now, this is super expensive stuff. The headcounts, the people, the engineers are super expensive. What is exactly the return on investment on that? So when do we get our money back? When do we sell more cars? When do we have more customers? Why is the churn rate still the same, although we're investing into AI? So all of these questions, which was also puzzling me at that stage.
So technical background. So in your 8 years of consultant work, so is that where then we'll talk about Mindfuel in a second, but is that where the idea started to come about, just working in those consulting projects and these questions of what's my ROI? So you thought, hey, there, I could maybe create something from this.
Yeah, so actually, I think one of the trigger point has been that I've been in a customer meeting and the customer shared a lot of trust with me, actually. So I was responsible for building up their data and AI and their data and analytics team in-house. So they hired more than 200 people to work on data analytics and AI in a centralized organization. And he said, Nadim, you know what? So it's great, all the efforts you're doing, but I also have to justify all of these investments and all these budgets and headcounts. And why can we not explain that to our board? And I always told them it's a strategic investment and you cannot not do it. You know, as a consultant, you always have these catchy phrases and so. But to be honest, I didn't like my answer as well. It was too fluffy. I didn't like what I'm like. I wish I could have had something to make it simple, easy to digest, and to illustrate it quite nicely. Why the investment in AI is so important and makes it transparent. And you know what I then did, and this is actually also the beginning of Mindfuel. This is what you typically do. I called my best friend with my frustration. I called my best friend, having him over for a beer. Max, my today's co-founder, and we met at university, very first day. So, you know, these guys always stick around in your life, the first people you met at university. So Max was one of the first people I've met. We stick together. He went a different path and he became a super successful product manager in Europe. So most probably one of the best product managers I've ever met in my career so far. So he was super successful in his company and he really rolled it. He scaled the product out. He built a digital business model. He was using AI all over the place. And I asked him with my frustration, Max, what have you done differently? So why is it working out at your company? And why is like in my initiatives, I'm not getting the grip and the traction and the grip on the ground and you're doing this great effort in your company. What have you done differently? And with his answer and what he said to me back in the days, I I realized, okay, now we have to like, this is massive, because his answer was, Nadeem, you're data guys, you're a bunch of engineers. You have no clue what it means to actually build a product, and you have no clue about product management. And you have, you have to imagine, I was back in the days, I was actually a super successful consultant. I was working with the biggest Fortune 500 companies. And I mean, they were asking me to help them. And then just a random guy, if you want. So of course, my best friend was telling me that I have no clue. When I calmed down again, I would say, I realized that he's absolutely right. There is a very specific piece missing in the data industry, and this is a product mindset. So there's a complete missing gap. And then I told him, well, you know what, buddy, nobody in the data world globally has any clue about product management. We have to do something about that. And this is how the company has started. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So you went to your best friend Max. He brought you down a few notches, put you in your place, and so that's great. So perfect transition. So let's talk about Mindfuel. What products and or services does Mindfuel offer?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think with this story, it already frames it quite well that, um, so Mindfuel is the very first data product management company. So basically what we did is we said, okay, the data world has, like, analytics, AI world has no proper clue about what it means to actually build products. Still, everyone wants to have outcome from data and analytics. And I think this is a core principle in product management. I mean, there are great icons out there, also in Silicon Valley, real experts in digital product management, and they all praising the same thing. They're praising outcome over output, doing the right things versus doing the things right. So there's so many great principles in product management with the methodologies, best practices, and all that stuff. So when I realized that the methodologies and best practices from product management could solve the problem in the data world, I realized we have to bring this over into the world. And so the, the idea we called it back in the days was then data product management. So we just brought the two terms together. And today, data product management is a fully established discipline in many organizations, which helped us a lot. And what we are providing is we have a SaaS application. You can imagine a product management application, a data product management application, enabling or helping data and analytics teams to do proper product management with their customers who are typically internal business stakeholders. So the customer is necessarily not external, but it's within the organization. So the main persona is typically the chief data officer or the head of AI, or there's a specific role called data product manager. And what they typically do is they go to their customer, which is, for example, the head of marketing, and they do demand management. They have an approach for opportunity management, demand management, to understand something we call the business opportunity. So you can document the business opportunities in our SaaS application. This is all supported by AI. So we have large language models up and running. You can just type a few words and it generates the entire business opportunity. And then this provides a good overview of what the organization actually needs. And then the data organization has a clear overview of which projects they need to deliver. So on a portfolio management approach on all their data assets, from machine learning models, dashboards, reports, data sets. So you can manage this all in a very systematic view and way of working in Light. And then the last step is value management. So you can give everything a value, a dollar value, which is derived from the business opportunity. So in very first time of history in data, you can map the efforts you put into an initiative developing a machine learning model and map it against the business opportunity from the business where the value is unlocked. So you can say this machine learning model is contributing XYZ dollars to this business initiative. And you can do this for your entire analytics portfolio.
I love that. Yeah, so you're saying take the philosophy or methodology of product management, apply it to data, make data a product, and so
Exactly.
you can really measure those outcomes versus, hey, let's just put a bunch of data on a dashboard. Well, is that really doing anything for us? Like thousands of companies have probably experienced themselves.
And it goes even further down the road when you have built the product, like who is using the product. how can we adopt the product to increase the usage? How can we reuse the product? So imagine, I don't know, you build a dashboard for the sales department, marketing comes around, and typically you build a new dashboard for marketing.
Mhm.
But with a good portfolio overview, you know what you have in your portfolio. You know which assets you have under management. This is, I think, a good finance term here. The assets under management, and you can reshare these assets and reuse them and increase usability and adoption of your products and your assets.
And then tell me a little bit about your ideal customer profile. So it sounds like, if these companies have a head of AI, head of data, data analytics, like these are maybe larger companies. So who are you targeting with your product?
Yes. So I think this summarizes actually quite well. So the ideal customer profile for us are organizations who are investing into data and analytics and have established a team. It doesn't necessarily need to be a centralized team, can be decentralized. And the team has a specific size. So we typically say 8 to 10 people in this team, because this is where the challenges start to come up. This is where you lose overview inside, where you lose a little bit of track of your portfolio. You, you have a lot of incoming streams, different demands from different teams coming over to you. And so of a certain size of amount of the data team, the problems come up. So we'd say this happily happens in bigger enterprises. Yes. That doesn't necessarily need to be the Fortune 500 exclusively, but all organizations which have a data and analytics team with a size of 5 to 10 people, maybe
Mhm.
beginning 5 to 10 people, where the challenges come up.
Okay. Okay. So 5 to 10 people, but of course scaling, and of course up to global companies, Fortune 500, which makes a ton of sense. So,
Yeah, exactly.
uh, yeah. And so what year did you found Mindfuel?
We founded in 2020.
Hmm.
So we founded 4 years ago, and we in the first 1.5 years we actually invested a lot into R&D. So the first 1.5 years was really how to measure the value from data and finding an approach for that, because yeah, it's not the easiest thing to do. So it not from a scientific point of view, it's quite interesting, but also it needs to be applicable for the industry. I mean, so I have no problems in writing a paper, a research paper about that, but the research paper is maybe not always applicable to insurance companies, banking, manufacturing companies. So you have to make it very tangible and easy to digest and use to leverage in the industry. So I think we invested a lot of effort there to
Okay.
break it down.
Yeah, makes sense. So founded 2020. And then is your company, then are you headquartered in Munich?
We are headquartered. So our headquarter is in Munich. Yes, this is where our main office is in Munich. We are actually a Swiss company. So our official headquarters is in Zurich, Switzerland. It is also where my co-founder lives. So Max lives in Zurich. And so I live in Munich. He lives in Zurich. The headquarters in Zurich. We have a bunch of people in Zurich and in Munich, but Munich is the bigger office. Yes.
Okay.
And
It,
then, yeah, in Austria as well. So, yeah.
okay. And then what's your current team size?
So currently we have around 60 people.
Okay.
Uh,
60.
Zig Zero, yes.
Okay. 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 And anything you want to share around revenue ranges, ARR ranges right now?
Mhm. So we have an integrated business model of ARR and professional services.
Mm.
So to validate the approach which we started with, we started actually with professional services to validate our approach. So we also bootstrapped the company until we'd been around 40 people through the professional services. So you could say it was paid R&D to find out if what we're thinking about is really working out. And when we had a certain size of also validation done, we started to develop the SaaS application. And so we have today 2 revenue streams. The ARR is around $300,000 at the moment, but the platform has been launched 9 months ago. So the professional services moves around $4 to $5 million.
Okay. Yeah, and let's talk about that. That's really interesting that you mentioned because you hear a lot of founders who had a services business before or an agency and they got tired of that services grind. So they create a SaaS application. But sound like, so was that intentional where you started the company with that services first? And maybe let's learn the industry, let's learn how this works so then we can better create our SaaS application.
And so it was absolutely clear from day one that we will build a SaaS application.
Mm.
So I was coming out of consultancy business for 8 years. So I was actually, when we found it, I said, Max, I don't want to, like, I cannot do consultancy at that scale anymore. It's enough. And Max said it fits well because I had no clue about consultancy. I'm a product guy. So, but we realized when we entered the market, when we founded Mindfuel, there was no market. So the term data product just did not exist. So there was research wobbling around, but so when I imagine the first pitches we had with customers, the feedback was like, they've never heard such a, yeah. So it was like, okay, buddy, it's a nice idea, but sorry, no. So we heard a lot of no's in the very early days because the market was definitely not there. So what we said back in the days is to really find, so we only started with the problem statement. We had no, like maybe other founders, they have a great invention or idea and say, hey, let's productize this idea and so on and so forth. We started with the problem and we had to sip our own champagne and praising product management. Mainly we had to do a lot of discovery to find actually out what the underlying problem of the problem is. And to do so, we did this with professional services. However, everyone who's joined Mindfuel ever since has been told, buddy, you work in a SaaS company. This is our R&D phase. We even wrote this down in letters, in emails, in even work contracts. By 2024, you will have this in this job description, this in this job role. It will be part of a SaaS company. So we did this quite structured in a very intentional way. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I appreciate that
And
insight. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a
so
real, yeah, interesting journey. And yeah, you knew you're going to build the app, but this refined your expertise, your craft to get there. So,
and the second reason, maybe also for listeners, also for others who are intentionally doing at that stage. So for us, the second reason why we started that way was we knew that our customers are major enterprises. And we know that our customers typically need professional services on the side. So also today we have an integrated business model. It's not that we just throw over the SaaS application, the SaaS application saying, good luck with that. We're not Slack. It's like you need to, so our customers, even if we have a low touch approach, I mean, you can start with Delight by yourself. You register for a free trial, you get an onboarding call and you can run yourself. But usually our customers need more assistance and they also used to have more assistance like they do with other big providers. I mean, if you buy from, I don't know, SAP today, or if you, I mean, Celonis is the example we're looking at, or we are really, really admiring. I think their approach of integrated business model between SaaS and value engineering is super successful. And we truly believe in this model.
yeah, yeah, makes yeah, really interesting. And so tell us a little bit about your go-to-market motion right now. So how are you finding prospects and customers?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I have to mention at that point, we are a seed stage. We're a seed stage company. So we raise capital to really find that out now,
Mhm.
what the ideal go-to-market motion might be. We have different approaches we're validating at the moment. On the one hand side, one thing is the customers who have worked with Mindfuel in the past, also now professional services, they are a great source or they are great. They are ready for the Delight. So Delight is the SaaS application. So they are Delight ready. And if they want to buy, they want to buy. So we have something which we call the consulting-led approach. But at the other hand, we separate this very clearly and we have the sales-led approach. So we know with our customers, we have to go sales-led. So we're doing targeted outbound, we're going on events, we are having structured outbound campaigns. We are following up on, different, recommendations, warm intros, all of that stuff. So to really find the right person to talk to within the organization. That's the way how we go. And I think we're quite good top of the funnel. So we get a lot of recommendations. The topic is hot. We even have inbounds nowadays. I mean, this is for us completely new. So people reaching out to us saying, hey, value management for data is a big topic for us. Can we talk? And the next stage is then after the demo, usually customers should start with a free trial because it's a different story being shown to Delight while experiencing it yourself. It's very easy to start with and putting your first assets into Delight and managing them in a centralized portfolio and having clear overview, you feel the power of it and you see how easy and simple it is. So I think the most important thing is our user persona is not an engineer.
Mhm.
We are a management software. So our users are managers and business people. So also when you see Delight, it is a management application. It is not like what you might expect from an engineering infrastructure platform technology. It's easy to use, and UX UI is super important to us. Our users should do things in 1 or 2 clicks. Good illustration, good reports, good overview, lean and transparent. So it goes absolutely in the direction of managers.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And then let's switch over to the fundraising side. So you've recently raised some money. How much capital have you raised to date now?
We've raised 3.7 million euros, which is approximately close to $4 million.
Okay, so you had that 3.7 million euro raise. And so where was that in your journey? So you've been doing this now 4 years. So
Mhm,
what led to that fundraising round?
mhm. So, uh, as I told you, so we bootstrapped the company, and every so we bootstrapped the company through professional services, but in sorry, in comparison to normal consultancies who would like the gains they're making from the consultancy business, they can invest into, I don't know, growth or whatever.
Yeah.
Every single dollar we made, we invested this into the product development. So we were really always at the edge when it comes to cash flow and whatever, because we hired engineers right from like 6 months after we founded. We hired the first engineer to work on first concepts of Delight and all that stuff. So over the time since when we grew, the risk increased. And at a certain moment in time, we had, I don't know, 6, 7 full-time engineers where we said, okay, now we cannot just play that game anymore, like refinancing everything to my professional services arm. We have to mitigate the risk and raise funding. So the first conversation started mid of 2022. And then it took us a while also figuring out which direction markets have been wobbling and so on and so forth. And then we closed our round actually like in 2023. And then there was Christmas and all that stuff. So the announcement, it took a few weeks, but so we have funding since last year. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And then in that process, any lessons learned in that seed round raise that you'd like to share with other founders?
I think 1 million, I have to prioritize. I mean, yeah, it really depends on I have to extract the market situations a little
Mhm.
bit. I mean, nowadays fundraising has changed significantly from what's important or what investors are looking at. But I think one lesson I would share is you have you have to have your stuff ready. So the process itself is so the process actually happen or the process starts way before you start looking out for VCs. And because in the moment when the fundraise, or I would explain it like that, there is passive fundraising and active fundraising, but you always fundraise.
Mhm.
And it's just this feeling thing. And and the moment when you decide going from passive to active, then everything accelerates significantly because you talk to investors, you have to do this at the same time, you have to like bring information together, you have to acquire term sheet and so on and so forth. And it's definitely not easy these days. I mean, you have to talk to a lot of people. It is an intensive process. And as a CEO, I can tell you, if you are in the active phase of fundraising, I think this is your main activity you're doing at that time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
it
that's
is,
kind of thing. Yeah, be prepared, have that data ready, and it's a full-time job to fundraise. So
and, and it's not necessarily, a lot of people worrying about also the data room and all the stuff needs to be, I think you have to do your homework, which is important. You have to, it is not important if your Excel spreadsheet is now super duper clean or if it's just roughly put together. Of course, it must be consistent. It must be real and everything must be right. Don't get me wrong, but it's not about polishing everything. Investors have a very good sense from my point of view. if you have your numbers, if you're good with your numbers or not, if you have a clear understanding of your numbers or your KPIs and all that stuff. But this is your homework. Your homework is have a clear overview and understanding of your business. And this that not does only mean know the KPIs from the book, but have a good sense of what is the right KPI, which is important right now at my stage. What is your go-to-market strategy? I mean, if your customer acquisition costs, I mean, imagine our customer acquisition costs, which we model as super high. I mean, if you would judge Mindfuel on customer acquisition costs, I'm not sure if it would be super successful, but we can explain that number in correlation with, for example, our year-to-year growth or our ARR deal sizes or our annual contract values and all that stuff. So you need to, you need to understand relations between your KPI and you have this argumentation ready. That this is, I think you have to be very good prepared when it comes to defensibility of your story with the numbers and not if the slides, if the spreadsheets are polished.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
doesn't help you at all.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Appreciate that insight. Definitely resonates. Definitely makes sense. And then, and Deem, at this stage of your business, do you have a favorite number or metric that you're focused on to guide the business?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very simple, but we are focused on cash flow at the moment. I mean, cash flow and net new burn are two topics we really have to look at. I mean, I'm talking from a European perspective at the moment, right? So I'm not sure how the US actually. So I'm sitting in New York at the moment. Actually, we just started our expansion to the US. So we will now. I'm here in New York now since a week, and I'm building up the US entity now, and we're starting in the US. So let's see what the US market is how the US market differs from Europe. But in Europe, the motion is still slower. So fractions are hard to make. From my point of view, you really have to do your homework here as well. Simple comparison, in former times, I needed 5 calls to get a customer bottom of the funnel. Today, we're talking about 10 to 12 calls to get the customer bottom of the funnel. And then still a lot of effort to sign a contract. And the contract is in when the document is signed. It's this little dotted line where the signature has to be placed in. It's a long way to get there. And so cash flow is major topic still. And
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the KPI we're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, cash flow always should be top of mind, whether, depending, regardless of stage. And then, Dean, really appreciate your time sharing your experience today. As we wrap up, what's coming up next for Mindfuel?
Yeah, I mean, I think besides the fact that have a great product roadmap ahead where we really creating experiences. So we want to create business experiences for managers. I think that the greatest highlight for us is the market entry in the US. So I'm very honored that we've won the German Accelerator Program. It's an initiative from the German government. And so it helps European or especially German startups to come into the US. So this is the reason why I'm here. They're providing office space, they're providing mentorship. So we have great mentors we're working with now and helping us to, getting everything ready from messaging, go-to-market, marketing strategies, all of that stuff. And so I'm super excited to share that Mindfuel will be available or Mindfuel will be located in the US very soon. Delight is available in the US now. And this is a major thing. And everyone who's located in New York next Thursday, I'm throwing an afterwork party here in the office. So everyone is invited for a drink.
That's great. Well, exciting, right? You're in New York, expanding into the US. So that's awesome. That's fantastic. So today, really appreciate your time today. And if listeners would like to learn more about Mindfuel, where should we send them online?
Yeah, so definitely to mindfuel.ai. But also, I think we have a super vibrant LinkedIn profile. Our LinkedIn is super responsive. So whenever you want to chat, or of course on our website, how could an AI company not have a very smart chatbot, which is facilitated by large language models and ChatGPT and all that stuff. So feel free to reach out and you will find a human person immediately after a few questions.
That's great. Well, again, Nadeem, really appreciate your time sharing your experience and journey so far. So, listeners, if you'd like to learn more about what they're doing, check out mindfuel.ai to learn more. And again, Nadeem, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me and see you next time.